Hello, good morning.
Petitioning the Speaker, the leader of opposition Mathias Mpuuga urges the current intervention by government are not viable and an extension of the current fuel distress.
If you do understand the nature of petroleum prices and their repercussions, their linkage with the entire economy, before you know it, the country-wide consumer prices can sink into a depression with unemployment. Suddenly, what the economists prefer to call stagflation is bad for an economy that is trying to recover from the ravages of COVID.
Aware that the parliament is meant to resume next week, the leader of opposition believes the current state requires an emergency redress.
Parliament needs to immediately convene and be briefed initially on what the government is doing, and also make an input, because I know members of parliament coming from various places must be sharing into the challenges their constituents are confronting on a daily basis. Parents are not able to take their children to school because of the cost of transport. If you do understand the nature of petroleum prices and their repercussions, their linkage with the entire economy, before you know it, the country-wide consumer prices can sink into a depression with unemployment. Suddenly, what the economists prefer to call stagflation is bad for an economy that is trying to recover from the ravages of COVID.
The leader of opposition hit at the Prime Minister Robina Nabbanja,
Minister for Energy, the Honorable Nankabirwa, to direct the Commissioner in charge of energy to investigate.
I heard the Prime Minister advising motorists to not to buy fuel from those petrol stations that are charging highly. And I wanted the Prime Minister to advise motorists where they can find that cheap fuel supplied by government from its reserves before she can advise the country to ignore the high prices at petrol stations. In the fact that government has no reserves.
the legislators have backed LOP's proposal.
And it's provided for within the mechanisms in which Parliament works, but also as the sectoral committee of trade, tourism and industry, I think we have taken a step through the chairperson to be able to, right now actually, we are heading to Jinja, we're heading to the border to critically understand the depth of this situation, but also be able to come up with solutions in form of recommendations that can be undertaken by government.
You can see all the petrol stations are liberalizing their fuel prices. One is at 4,000, the other at 5,000, 10,000, 8,000, and the constituents and the countries looking at us. We were in the constituency. We couldn't stay. The pressure was too much. Everyone was poor.
The fuel prices have been on a rise for the last 3 weeks, with a number of fuel stations empty.